All right, so we are live now. Hi, Miss Temi. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very great. Hi, Karen.
I'm
Nice
so
to
glad
see
on
you.
how time conscious you are. That's amazing.
Thank
So
you.
let's
Thank
just
you.
give some time and let people start coming in. I see 5 people connected already. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. You know the deal. As you join, please do not hesitate to like, share so that others will be able to benefit from this information. So I'm really excited for this session today. As you all know, just by the title, it's a little bit different from, well, not that different, but it's an extra touch on what we commonly cover on this platform. So for the past 7 weeks, we've been digging into safe agile, and because DevOps is a family of safe agile, and based on us wanting to respond to the request of our audience, that is why today I have decided to bring to you what most people have been longing for, a touch of DevOps. And I am here with an expert, and that's what I'm most excited about, because this is also going to be a great learning opportunity for me as well. So don't let anyone miss out on this very important session. As you come in here, please kindly share with your contacts, like as well. It's always very helpful. As you can see, Miss Gladys Taka is already supporting our platform, with $2. Thank you so much, Miss Gladys. We really appreciate that. So if you are just joining, thank you for joining. Go ahead and like, share. And as you know, this platform is the safest place where you can, feel free to contribute whatever you have in mind. Fail, learn, no one is judging you. The only reason why we're here is so that we can continuously enhance our understanding in the tech space, in the agile space, so that we continue to thrive together through our common challenges and our common successes. That's the reason why we hold why we have this platform. So don't shy away from any input you have. Leverage that comment section. Is for you. So the way the program is going to run today, we're going to cover. I'm going to be interviewing my boss, my friend, my sister, Miss Temi, and as we do that, we're going to reserve some time for to take questions from you all. So please feel free. This is your home. This is your family. Thank you for joining, Danielle. Everyone that has joined, please go ahead and like. Liking is free. Click that like button so that we know that you're here. That being said, I am just going to quickly give a rundown on the program we've been covering and what we'll be focusing today. So we are still on our safe agile matter. And we've brought so many outstanding practitioners in the past to share their experience and continue to contribute to the agile community, and it's been amazing. I just want to be grateful for them. All those that have showed up here in the past, I just want to be grateful. So today our topic is DevOps, focusing on DevOps engineering, and we'll also touch a little bit into how it relates with agile. So if you are looking to transition into the DevOps space, you've been wondering whether you should do Agile or you should do DevOps or Scrum, today is the day that I hope you will get the answers you're looking for. And if you have anything to share, please do not hesitate. With that said, I'm just going to quickly introduce Miss Temi to you all. So just give me 1 second here to pull up her profile. While I'm doing that, I'd like you all to know Miss Temi as the CEO of TechPort Canada. She actually owns and runs a tech consulting, and her specialty is in DevOps architecturing, if there is any English like that. She does a lot of training, consulting, coaching, mentoring on anything DevOps, and she has a very extensive and solid background in the technical field. So Miss Temi has a lot to share with us today. So please let us pay attention and see what we can draw out of this very wonderful opportunity. So, just a little bit about Miss Temi. Miss Temi actually started her IT career over 17 years ago as a Java programmer, where she worked in highly regulated industries like telecommunication, aviation, and banking industry. Um, she also covers areas of IT, that is from application development to database administration, infrastructure support, network and security administration to IT service management. So she's actually located in Canada, by the way, and she has backed so many different certifications, and some very specific ones would be Sun certified Java programmer, COBIT certified in the governance of enterprise IT, ComSec Plus certified, an Oracle certified professional, and an ITIL expert. I mean, her portfolio is packed. So currently, from a professional standpoint, Miss Temi also works as a DevOps architect. And like I mentioned before, she is one of the best DevOps engineer trainers you can find out there. So that being said, Miss Temi, I am very honored to have you today here. I'm very glad I'm hosting you today, and thank you for volunteering to show up here and give your own little contribution to the community. So just please use your own mouth and speak for yourself. Just give us a brief introduction again, keeping in mind what I've already shared on who you are and how you would like people to see you.
Wow. Karen, where do I start from? I don't know. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so glad to be on this platform. And you're my boss too, so don't go there at all. Hi everyone, thank you for joining. My name is Temi Sam, and of course Karen has done justice to my, to my background and everything about me. But just a little bit more about me is I'm currently a DevOps solutions architect, and of course, you can also call that a senior DevOps engineer. And I work in the cloud space. I work with a cloud provider. And of course, what we do, or what I do as a DevOps solutions architect is I talk with the CIOs of companies. I try to understand their roadmaps. I try to understand what they want to achieve in DevOps, how they want to approach DevOps. And then I try to also architect solutions for them, design solutions for them that would meet their roadmaps, right? And of course, DevOps means different things to different organizations. So my role as a DevOps solutions architect is to really, really understand what they understand by DevOps or what it means to them, and the aspects of DevOps that they want to implement. So what I do is to help them demo solutions to them and then advise them on the best routes to take.
Wow, that's amazing. That's just powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that background. So I almost forgot to introduce my own self. I know most people already know me. My name is Karen Fomafung, your favorite Agile Evangelist. What I do is I am passionate about helping individuals, helping teams, helping organizations to be very successful with Agile. I accomplish this by partnering with them, meeting them where they are, and then together we identify what the issues are and then figure out solutions that will be sustainable to help our customers gain the best satisfaction ever. That is me in a nutshell. So I'm just going to move on to my next question here for Miss Temi. So, Miss Temi, how did you become a DevOps expert? Just tell us your transition story.
Okay, remember you mentioned, when you were talking about me that I actually started off as a Java programmer, and that was like 17 years ago, close to 18 years now. And as an IT person, 17 years in the IT world, I covered all the areas of IT, I would say, from application support to infrastructure management to actually at some point, I was the IT manager for a bank, ensuring that the bank runs smoothly. And so about 8 years ago, I was transiting from that role of being a senior manager in the bank as an IT head. So I was looking for better ways of, empowering my team. I needed better ways of doing things. I was just passionate about automating some things that we were doing, right? There was in IT, for those that are currently in IT, there are some things that are, they are repetitive. You keep doing the same thing every day, right? So I was looking for ways I could automate what we were doing and make us more efficient. And that was when I stumbled on DevOps, and I'm like, okay, so this looks like what I was looking for. And so I moved into a DevOps systems engineer role, and that was the eye opener for me. And so in that role, I worked in that role for pretty much like I think 4 years. And in that role, okay, the company I was working for then was this software solutions company. We were developing softwares for law enforcement agents, the police department, and so all of those body worn cameras and all those, the gadgets in their cars. So we're developing solutions for them. And so I was, handling how to set up the pipelines for them, ensuring we automate how the body worn camera automatically triggers when they pull it off, and all of that. So that brought me into DevOps. So from that role, I became a DevOps engineer in that role. And then I began to design solutions for DevOps. I remember also that before then I had like 12 or 13 years of experience. So that was, like a foundation to getting a grip, so a grip of,
Mm-hmm.
DevOps when I moved into that role. And since
Okay.
then, I've been doing DevOps. I've been, automating solutions for companies and individuals.
Awesome. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so very much. So I'm just curious. I know one of the common questions I get a lot, especially from my mentees that are transitioning from a DevOps background into Agile. They've taken some trainings for DevOps and they've tried so hard to get their first role, but it proved abortive. And they learned about Scrum and they decided to try that out. So you've explained to us how you transition and all of that. But at the point of when you landed that first opportunity, was that a challenge? How did that happen? If you can just give us a brief summary on that particular aspect, would really appreciate that.
Okay, so I was coming from being an IT manager, right? And of course, as an IT manager, I was covering all the aspects of IT. I was in charge of the database guys. I was in charge of the infrastructure support team. I was in charge of, the banking application team. And, I was just in charge of all of those groups, which means I had the developers under me. I had the operations team under me, right? And so I was going into a seemingly different role, which was more like not a management role at that time anymore, because I really wanted to understand DevOps, right? So I took a DevOps systems engineering role, and in that role, what I was supposed to do is what DevOps does, which is
Okay.
ensuring you help both teams, like the development team, the operations team. You want to find a good landing spot for them. Like you want to make them have a better collaboration, be able to work together. That's what
Mm-hmm.
DevOps actually does, right? So, and for you to be able to achieve that, you must use automation, you must use some tools. So
Mm-hmm.
when I got into the systems engineering role, I needed to understand what DevOps really was. And there's a lot of misconception out there about what DevOps really is, right? So I needed to understand what DevOps really was and how I would apply it to the environment I was working in. So I was working with developers at the new role. And
Mm-hmm.
so I needed to understand that, okay, developers have a mind of their own. They want to make changes to applications. They want to, write their codes. They want their codes to run anywhere. And I have operations that will support those codes.
Mm-hmm.
The default on the mind of an operations person is developers, whenever they make a change, they break whatever was already working, right? So I needed to find a way, like a balance between the two teams. Okay,
Yeah.
dev, we understand that in a bid to release new software, you mistakenly break something, right? You want to pat their back so they don't feel
Yeah.
too bad. I've been a
Mm-hmm.
developer, so I understand how it feels.
Yeah.
And then as a support person, as an operations side too, I need to also pat their back to let them see, hey, they're not breaking things. It might seem broken, but there are other ways, to see things. So it was just more about ensuring both teams work together.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that your first opportunity wasn't that challenging because you transitioned from the same organization you were already working with, correct?
I transitioned because I was already very experienced in IT. It was
Okay.
easy for me, and I'd already covered both sides. I've covered
Okay.
development, I've
Okay.
covered operations. So it was pretty easy
Okay.
for me to.
That's very understandable. Thank you so very much for that insight. So I know you've kind of answered this question already, but just to add some context to it, if that's okay, how
Okay.
can you explain DevOps to a layman?
Okay, that's a very good question, and that's a very,
A
very
layman
tricky
like
one
me, by
too.
the way. So how can you explain DevOps to me? Because I don't know.
Okay, good. So the way I explain DevOps is a software development approach that helps you to develop superior software, right?
Mhm.
Quality software in a very little time. I'm sure you'll be like, that's what Agile does, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's what Agile does. So just like Agile does, right? DevOps aims to shorten the life cycle. The time you use to develop, it helps you.
Mhm,
The aim is that we want to develop faster, right? But one turning point there between Agile and DevOps is the power of automation.
mhm,
Agile tries to do everything, but does not mention automation. But DevOps rides on the power of automation. So without automation, you're not doing DevOps. And so
mhm,
what DevOps tells you is in reality, development teams, IT operations, they have different skills, they have different goals, right? So what DevOps tries to do is developers, in as much as we know developers wants to introduce new features, right? Operations are the ones that support what development has released. So
mhm.
within an agile environment, developers, operators, they can decide to work on their own, and that's what we see most times. You see development doing their thing, you see operations doing their thing.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm,
and they're working on the same product, don't forget. Even
mhm,
though they're working on the same product, they tend to do different, they do different things really, and they tend to operate at silos. So what
mhm,
DevOps actually does is it brings the two of them together, ensures that from the beginning of the cycle of the SDLC, which is software development lifecycle, all through to the end, everybody is involved. And
okay.
in as much as you're involving everybody, you're also introducing some tools that will automate the process, right?
Mhm.
So DevOps helps you to just what Agile does. It helps you to develop faster, release faster, but it introduces automation and it helps you with the power of automation to do all those enhancements and unification.
Awesome. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to add more context to what Miss Temi said again based on my experience supporting agile in environments. So what I have learned is that I like to tell people to see DevOps as an extension of agile or an evolution of agile. That's really what it is. Like the DevOps is also a framework, just like every other agile framework, but in this instance is an extension, because you can agree with me that with agile really focuses more coming from the manifesto standpoint. We want, where we say we are successful is if we have successfully create codes that have been tested and they're working. But the part that Agile hardly really mentioned out of this little thing I just said is you will not hear on how they want to achieve the speed that they're longing for. So where DevOps comes in, DevOps emphasizes on automation, especially automation around testing and delivery, or you want to call it deployment. These two specific aspects, that's where DevOps really focuses on. With that, with this kind of automation, it enhances quality, because you know what a manual people can do, they can easily make mistakes, but with this automated way of testing and deploying, it really cuts down the time into like 100 different house, and then it enhances quality in a way that we can never believe. So that's really what that is. And when it comes to the development part of the world and the operations part of the world, DevOps is like in the middle, that pipeline that synchronizes this both sides of the world.
And if you
So
don't
that's just
mind,
mhm.
yeah, if you don't mind, Karen, and I didn't intend to cut you short there.
That's okay.
You're spot on your explanation is 100% right. I just want to add to what you said. So in
Mm-hmm.
real world, right, and it's just about relationship between Agile and DevOps. You know, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are always asking, okay, so what's the difference between Agile and DevOps? It's safe to say you can do Agile without DevOps,
Mm-hmm.
but there's
Yes.
no way you want to do DevOps without Agile.
That's
Is
amazing.
that
That
correct?
was
You
supposed to
can
be one of
do,
the questions for you. Like, what's the
oh,
relationship
really?
between Agile and DevOps? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So you can actually do DevOps. You can actually do Agile without DevOps. And you can't say you do DevOps without being Agile. And I will
Mm-hmm.
explain that. Now, in real world, you know, Agile is very fine. Like you said, Agile is about the codes, is about software development, right? But DevOps says Agile is fine without DevOps, right? But when deployment now comes into play, that's where you see DevOps, right?
Yes.
Agile
Mm-hmm.
stops at, okay, the developers are agile, the developers are producing software quickly, we're releasing faster. But what happens after those codes have been released?
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
happens to testing? What happens to deployment? What happens to the field, right? Those are
Mm-hmm.
the operators, those are the ones acting post development, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where DevOps now comes into play that, hey, developers, in as much as you're very important in this process, there's still a group of people that you're sidelining Agile, and those are the
Mm-hmm.
operators. You need to understand that when developers are done developing, there are some set of people that work on those code that support the users, right? Okay, we
Mm-hmm.
develop a website. Hey, our website is live. Go to www. So. We go there and it behaves differently on my desk. Karen, you're logging on, you're seeing something different. What's going on? And then we
Yeah.
pick the phone, we call a group of people that the website is not running well. Then they begin to troubleshoot. Those are the operators, right? So what DevOps says is, hey, in as much as you have used agile methodology, you have developed the solution, there's a group of people that are extremely important who are the ones that are the receiving end when you release these codes, right? Those are the operators. So DevOps helps to ensure that when deployment comes into the practice, you should be able to automate your deployments. So from the click of the button, you are deploying into production. Click of a button, you're deploying into the different environments you have. It doesn't have to be production. It can be your test environment. It can be your, you know, different environments that organizations spin up. So the difference there, or the relationship there is Agile is fine without DevOps until deployment comes into the
Mm-hmm.
picture. And
Yeah.
that's where DevOps picks it up. DevOps now uses the power of automation to ensure deployments can be automated.
That's amazing. I mean, just to support your point, I've heard so many people, especially those that are really passionate about DevOps, they'll say that Agile, they claim credit a little bit early. They claim credit too early. So, okay, what happens after the whole thing has been pushed to operations? What
Yeah,
happens to maintenance? What happens to all of this?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then again, just to emphasize on the point you made about you cannot be DevOps without being Agile, but you can be Agile without being DevOps. That is the power of agility. Like I said, 95% of organizations are now transitioning into Agile. So if you're here, I see 62 people connected. If you're here today watching us and you're still thinking, if you're still not even considering learning something about Agile, you're making a mistake. Because in the near future, it's already happening. If you're going in for any position, regardless of the position, part of the interview process, they will be assessing your level of agility, which is a mindset. And it's the culture, because Agile is a culture. They'll be assessing your level of that culture before they bringing you into that organization. So you see, knowing Agile is no longer an optional thing. You see, you must not be learning Agile because you want to become a Scrum Master or an Agile coach or anything like that. But you need it to better do whatever you're passionate about, just like DevOps, you see.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you very much. Let's quickly ride on. Now, what are the typical responsibilities of a DevOps engineer?
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so one thing I first need to explain is there's a difference between DevOps and a
Mhm.
DevOps engineer, right?
Okay. Mhm.
So DevOps is the approach,
Sure.
right? Just like
Mhm.
Agile. And
Mhm.
then DevOps engineer is the role, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So you're a DevOps engineer to facilitate the DevOps practices or to, deploy the DevOps tools and all of that. So as a DevOps engineer, there are several things you do. So one is you help to combine codes, you do application maintenance, you do application management. Mind you, you don't actually develop the codes,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
The only thing you do is you want to ensure that all the tools to enable the developers develop faster and better are provisioned, right? And made available. So that's your role. Another role that you perform as a DevOps engineer is you work with teams of QA, automation, testers, operators, release agents, because we tend to always, forget the release agents, right?
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
always work with a team of guys to ensure quality software delivery is achieved and maintained, right? Another thing DevOps engineers do is we want to ensure all the stakeholders are involved in the entire SDLC cycle. And of course, SDLC is software or system development life
Development life
cycle,
cycle.
right?
Mhm.
You want to ensure that from inception to post deployment, you want to use automation tools and want to ensure that everything is done at the click of a button, right? And then maybe I can add lastly that you want to reduce the complexity and
Mhm.
close the gap
Okay.
between those teams.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So I'm just curious, do you have to be technical to become a DevOps engineer?
Yes, you don't have
Okay.
to have a technical background,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're assuming the role of a DevOps engineer, you're technical enough. Because you
Mm-hmm.
can't be a DevOps engineer if you don't know some certain things. There are some certain
Okay.
skills that you require to be a DevOps engineer. Those
Okay.
skills in themselves are technical skills, right?
Okay.
But can someone without a technical background be a DevOps engineer? Yes, because you can
Okay.
learn those technical skills,
Okay.
right? But you need to be
So,
technical to be a DevOps
mhm.
engineer.
Okay, that makes sense. So can you just give me some examples of those technical skills you're referring to?
Okay, great. So, one very great skill that is very foundational, but a lot of people tend to neglect is you must know Linux operating system.
Okay.
Not because that's the only operating system that you would see out there, but because one, Linux is most servers run on Linux operating systems. Of course, there are Windows server operating systems that applications can run on or servers can run on. But you would find that a lot of the tools out there, DevOps tools out there are millions of tools out there run on Linux. There are some tools that do not even run on any other operating system that you must install them on Linux, that you can manage them with other operating systems, but they must first run on Linux, right? So Linux operating system is a very foundational or a great tool that you
Mm-hmm.
should at least have some foundational knowledge about.
Okay.
A lot of people make the misunderstanding that you must know how to code. You don't have to know how to code to start as a DevOps engineer. A lot of my trainees along the line, I tell them when they need to pick some certain scripting skills. But you don't have to know how to code in Java. You don't have to know how to code in C Sharp to be a
Mm-hmm.
DevOps engineer. No. Another very great skill is there are millions of tools out there. I'm sure someone is asking, do I need to learn all those tools, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you Google now DevOps engineer role, an ad, you will see thousands. Let me know on a minimum, you'll see 10 tools on a
Mm-hmm.
typical job advert for DevOps engineer. And then someone is asking, I'm checking four different jobs and I'm seeing 10 different tools on each of those jobs, right? That's
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
40 different tools.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
there are some tools that you need to know. There are some common tools. A lot of those tools have it like a common basis, right?
So what's the
So
baseline?
yes, some of they have their baselines that you need to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, if I'm looking at source code management, which is how to ensure that developers' codes are in a place, right, where
Mm-hmm.
everybody can reference, I'll be talking about Git. I'll be talking about Bitbucket. All of them still have the same baseline. If I understand Git very well, I'll be able to work in an environment that uses Bitbucket, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. So the thing is, you don't have to learn all of the tools in each of the phases.
Mm-hmm.
One major tool in one phase helps you to understand the other tools that work in that phase. And once you're able to use there are some tools that I always say you must learn. If you
Mm-hmm.
know those tools, you'll be able to work better in any environment you find yourself. Cloud knowledge is another thing. A lot of organizations are embracing the cloud. You want to learn, you want to know at least one major cloud provider,
Yeah.
one of the public cloud providers like the AWS of this world, Microsoft of this world, Google of this world. You want to learn at least, understand at least one of the cloud providers and be able to use them very well. And of course, you can't rule
Okay.
out interpersonal skills. You must have excellent team spirit, communication skills, because you're working with people, you're working with different teams, so you must be able to collaborate well. So those are the
Okay.
skills.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so very much. So, for those that are just joining, thank you all for joining. Again, my name is Karen Fomafung, and I'm here today with Miss Temi, who is an expert in DevOps practices, DevOps framework. So, Miss Temi is here today to share with us her experience and just give us some insight and guidance, especially for people that are in DevOps or people that are looking to transition. This show is for you, and especially the relationship between DevOps and Agile. That's why we all are here today. So if you're just connecting, please click that like button. It's absolutely free. It means a lot to us. It's really motivating and it's supportive when you do that. Share this so that other people can join as well and benefit from this information. Now, Miss Emmy, while you were asking that, saying all everything you were saying, I had two questions in mind. So, what is the average duration of, let's say, a novice like me interested in becoming a DevOps engineer? What's the average duration from start to finish?
You're not a novice. You understand Agile.
I don't know.
So maybe if you're saying someone that doesn't even have any understanding of Agile, that
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
know anything
let's
about
put it that way.
Agile.
Yeah, let's put it that way. So, if I'm interested in becoming a DevOps engineer, like I've never taken any training, theoretical, nothing before. So what's the average duration in finally achieving that goal of becoming a DevOps engineer?
Average duration I always give for people that do not have any background at all, I give them 3 to 6 months. If you don't have
Okay.
any background, now the 3 to 6 months is you train. There are some trainings you want to go for, right? There are some tools you want to learn. You can learn all of that in 2 months, right? But for you to be a DevOps engineer, if you're going for any interview in DevOps engineering, they expect you to have done some hands-on, right?
Yeah.
And so for you to put those hands-on into work, you need another month. So that's the 3 months. You can get a job in 3 months. I'm sure of that.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
between 3 and 6 months, you now want to begin to advance, and get better at it. That's why I always say 3 to 6 months. But on the dot of 3 months, you can actually get a job.
Okay, that's amazing. So, viewers, I hope you all are hearing. We're still in 2022. So, we still have 4 months. So, you still have a lot of time to make your 2022 worth it. So, if for whatever reason you've been contemplating or just waiting or just doubting or asking questions if you can even do it, now you feel hurt for yourself. You can do it. So get on your agile training so that you can better do your DevOps and become a successful DevOps practitioner or a Scrum Master or whatever you want to become. The point I'm trying to make is don't let this 2022 go to waste because you let procrastination to consume you. You're making a mistake. Now, Mr. Me, another question for you is, can you just quickly, maybe in 2 minutes, give us a brief of a typical day in the life of a DevOps engineer? I've heard all these responsibilities, but now I'm not sure if I land this job, going through the training, land the job, what would a typical day look like for me?
Okay, great. Remember I said that within agile environment, developers have what they do, operators have what they do, right? Developers are the ones that actually write the codes. Operators are the ones that support the software after the code has been published, deployed, and all of that, right? Now, all these tasks rely on understanding not only development cycles, right? It also involves you understanding what happens even in the production environment, right? So as a DevOps engineer, you're wearing different hats, right? You're understanding what developers are doing. You're trying to also understand what QA is doing. You're trying to understand what operations is doing because you're managing all of them, right? So a typical day is you want to ensure that the pipelines are running. If you already have a pipeline set up, you want to ensure the pipeline is not broken. Pipeline is SDLC from start to finish. You're doing it at a click of a button, right? So you want to ensure your pipelines are running daily. If there are scripts that are running in your environment, if there are things you are monitoring, because DevOps is about continuous improvement, is about continuous delivery, is about continuous deployment, is about continuous monitoring. So you're doing a lot of monitoring. But all those that I'm talking about are already configured on a tool. So you have a tool like a dash that you're looking at to ensure that your environment is up and running. So on a daily basis, all you're just doing is ensuring that development teams or developers are working fine, operations is working fine. You have your CI/CD pipeline, which is your continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline. You want to ensure they're all working fine, nothing is down, nothing is broken. That's how you do daily. That's just the
Wow.
summary of what you do.
Wow. It sounds interesting and exciting. I may just be switching very soon. Because the way you put the whole thing, I'm tempted right now.
Please come
Anyway,
on
let's
board.
move on. Okay, so now let's talk money. We
Great.
want to be creating impact. That is important, but at the same time, we need money to be able to achieve all these things, to stay motivated, to take care of our issues. So I just want to know, what is the average salary of a DevOps engineer?
Yeah, so I tell people DevOps career is a gold mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because it's just the beginning that you do a lot of work. When those pipelines are running, your tools are doing the monitoring, right? You're not doing a lot. It's you just put it on auto cruise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the lowest I believe you can start in DevOps, I don't think you should start with anything less than 100,000. And I'm being modest, right?
Wow.
I've seen people, I haven't seen anyone start at less than 120 that I
Wow.
have seen or that I know, right? I've seen people start in mid hundreds, that's 150, and I've seen people start at close to 200. And I know people that earn over 300,000 right now. They didn't start at that.
Are you
So
serious? Okay.
it's a gold mine.
Okay.
It just depends on where you are. And I'm talking about single jobs. I'm not talking about
Mm-hmm.
two jobs. I'm not talking about
Mm-hmm.
three jobs here. Yeah. So you heard me right. There are some DevOps roles that will pay you as I. Yep.
Wow, that is amazing. That's a lot of money. Okay, so now that this job really pays this well, I'm just curious, what are the typical challenges a DevOps engineer will face in a typical day? I mean, I want to know. I'm sure some people they also want to know, so that when you're thinking about that money, you also want to know some of the challenges that you may encounter.
Yeah. So one major challenge is that a lot of organizations do not even know they have challenges, and a lot of them that have these challenges do not know the best approach to or
Mm-hmm.
solutions or best way to solve these problems. And then they employ DevOps engineer. When they employ the DevOps engineer, they expect you to perform all the magic, right? They want you to do the role of a developer, do the role of an operations person. Some jobs, you see some jobs, they're asking you, they need a DevOps engineer that can code in Java. What's a DevOps engineer doing with coding in Java?
I think
You
it's
know,
really similar to the problems of a Scrum Master. Seriously.
so one of the major challenges that I've seen is management, right? The
Mm-hmm.
management of the organizations that you're working at, right? You as a DevOps engineer must be able to draw the line. You must be able to tell them, hey, this is what I am supposed to do. And the truth is, a lot of us when we get to the jobs, because maybe we've been in the market for a long time or we're scared of, you need to speak out. You don't allow
Yeah.
them to drop what is not yours on your desk, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be able to draw the line, because management themselves, some do it intentionally, some unknowingly, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
must be able to know what your roles are as a
Mm-hmm.
DevOps engineer. And so you shouldn't settle for just anything. And that's why the my proteges, when I'm doing job interviews or checking job adverts for them, when we are working on job adverts, there are some jobs that are no. Once we see the job specifications, they are not go areas, because
Yeah.
when you see
Then you
those jobs,
cover.
this ones want you to do four jobs in one.
You want to do magic. They want you to do four jobs and then they want to pay you just one paycheck.
And they want to pay you one paycheck. So that's
Wow.
one. The management, there are pains when it comes to management. You need the management buy-in to be able to be successful on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Aside that, you require a lot of knowledge. And so a DevOps engineer reads a lot. You need to up
Mm-hmm.
your skills. We all know
Yeah.
that, just as typical as any IT agility
Yeah.
field, it's evolving every day.
You need to stay relevant
You need to
and
stay on top
updated.
of your game. You need to be updated. You need to ensure that you are abreast of the latest technologies, because you'll be in an organization and the next day, and they're also reading. Management is
Yeah.
reading too. They are
Yeah.
discussing with their peers out there, and over a bottle of wine, they've
Yeah.
discussed several DevOps tools, and they come to you and you're like, I've not heard about
What are you talking about?
it. So you need
Wow.
to keep yourself up to the
Okay,
game.
yeah. Okay, that's great. So now I'm just curious. So again, for those who are just joining, please leverage the comment section and drop any question you have regarding what we're talking about. Would definitely reserve at least 15 minutes to take your questions. So we have approximately 5 minutes to wrap up our conversation. So Miss Temi, with an understanding that a Scrum Master is part of the typical dev team. So have you ever had to work in close collaboration with a Scrum Master from a DevOps
Oh,
engineer standpoint?
yes.
And
So
how is that the relationship? What is that exactly?
okay, so my little understanding about Scrum Mastery, right, is
Mm-hmm.
you manage the team that develops, right? You manage a team of developers, you manage the processes around their development, right? Now, what a DevOps engineer does in that space is a DevOps engineer needs to understand what your production is like, what you're producing in terms of the software or your
Mm-hmm.
deliverables. Now, if I understand your deliverables, I'm able to help you to work better, right? My
Mm-hmm.
role is I want to introduce some tools to you that will
Mm-hmm.
help you to be better at what you do, that will
Mm-hmm.
help the organization to get to market fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a DevOps engineer, what I do is I'm in their meetings, I'm in their daily stand-ups. If they invite
Okay.
me to it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in, their Scrum reviews. I'm in their, I'm not in all of their Scrum
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
ceremonies, all of, yeah. But anytime they have to discuss everything that pertains to the delivery or to the
Okay.
deployment or to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of those solutions they're delivering, yes, I have to be a part of it. And I have to understand what you're delivering. So I also work on those boards. I have
Mm-hmm.
a part of the boards I update to. So I go on the
Mm-hmm.
boards to understand, okay, where is this task right now? Is it done? Is it, yeah. So as a DevOps engineer, you need to understand what your team is working on, right? And you
Okay.
might be managing a team of Scrum Masters. It doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
one Scrum Master or one team. You
Okay.
might be in an environment where you're covering multiple Scrum teams.
Okay. Because the Scrum Masters, are you saying the Scrum Masters typically are the ones that you collaborate with to understand what the team needs from you in terms of from a DevOps standpoint?
No, you collaborate with even the developers.
Okay, both the
Yes,
developers and Scrum
both the
Masters.
developers and the Scrum Masters.
Okay, awesome. So, do you ever have to collaborate with the PO, the product
The
owner?
product owners, no.
Not quite often.
No,
Okay.
the people you really have a lot to do with are the developers, the QAs, the operators, the guys that actually do the work, right? But
Okay.
of course, when you're dealing with those developers, you're having Scrum Master who is managing them. You're having a PO who actually owns
Mm-hmm.
the deal and all of that. Yes, but you
Okay.
don't do much with you don't do much with
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, let's learn about a little bit about you, what you do, the services you offer. Just tell us about TechPod Canada. You
Oh
have
wow!
30 seconds.
Did you say 30 minutes?
Seconds.
Okay. Okay, so TechWork Canada is your one-stop shop for everything IT consulting services, everything that has to do with IT project management, staffing, and most importantly, with training DevOps, right? So we help individuals kickstart their DevOps career, whether you're confused about where to start or even you're confused about your next step, right?
Mhm.
That's what we do. We teach you the methodologies and the tools to develop, deploy, and operate quality software. We teach you the tricks and the trades of DevOps engineering. So we have
Okay.
people that start from scratch. We have people that are already into it and just confused about where they should continue at.
Mhm.
You're free to, go on our website, www.techpod.ca.
Mhm.
That's everything you want to know about us. When the next batch of training is starting, everything you need to know about TechPod is on there. www.techpod.ca. That's Canada CA.
Okay. So I just posted that. I just put that on the comment section. So if you want to know more about TechPod, please visit this website. I just texted it www.techpod.ca and you will learn everything you need to know. And if you are interested in becoming one, or learning more, please, that's the best place to go. Now, I know that you deal a lot with DevOps and DevOps stuff. I just want to put my community out there. If you come across any agile opportunities, Scrum Masters, looking for Scrum Masters in your environment at your place of work, please contact Being Agile Consulting. I have so many Scrum Masters that are looking for a change of opportunity. So that will be, I mean, I should be the first person you should be contacting and no one else.
Trust me. I'll share with you when I come across them.
Of course. All right. Now another thing that I would just like to know, if people are interested in connecting with you outside of going through the website, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm Temi Sam on LinkedIn. So you can, I will share my, and I can put that in chat for you.
Okay.
So Temi Sam on LinkedIn. You can reach me via LinkedIn. You can, all of the numbers on TechPod, there's a way you can actually get through to me through those numbers. I can always be, contacted through those numbers on TechPod.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Now, given that you have a solid experience working in the United States, and now you are in Canada as a DevOps solution architect. So what is the job market like? That is comparing USA and Canada. What is the job market like?
What I've observed is it's the same thing.
Okay.
I was in the US and exactly the same. The market is loaded with opportunities.
Wow.
Here is also loaded with opportunities.
Wow.
There's, the thing is, there's hardly no organization now that doesn't want to go agile, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
every organization is looking for better ways of doing things. They want to be faster. They want to be better. They want to be smarter. And that's what DevOps does. So bunch of opportunities out there in Canada for DevOps.
Wow. Thank you so much. I mean, I really like what you just said and the reason I asked this question is because my mentees, my Canadian-based mentees, they typical, I'll call it excuse. I don't know how to put it, but for now, let me just call it excuse that I will hear from them, or discouragement, some sense of discouragement. They would say that, well, in Canada, there are no opportunities in Canada as compared to US. I don't know why they always really think US has all the opportunities in the world. I don't think so. Instead, I feel like we don't have enough expats in Canada that are needed, just because a lot of people have this mindset that there are no opportunities in Canada, so they sit and not put themselves out there or acquire the skills that they need to be marketable. Meanwhile, I think the market is pumped and looking for the right people to take
and
in.
if
What do
you
you have
don't
to say
mind,
about
if you
that?
don't mind, let me just say something to that. You said something now that if you approach it that there are not many skills here, that's even an opportunity for you to launch out, right?
Yeah.
Because here, what I've observed is, and I've done that comparison a lot of times. If you ask me, do I want to come back to the US? I'll tell you no. Because
Oh,
I'm loving it here. And that's
but we miss you here.
And that's because, the opportunity is just what you see. I advise people impossible is nothing. It's about you. It's as far as you can see that you would achieve. If you look around you and all you see is you don't see any opportunity, then the opportunity is only there for you. But if you look around you and all you see is low-hanging fruits, then keep jumping at them and picking them up. That's how I advise.
That's a wonderful way to put it. I mean, as a matter of fact, last week I told one of my mentees that, okay, you are telling me that Canada don't have a lot of opportunities like USA has. Come to think of it, if they only have one opportunity, why don't you think you should be that person to get that one opportunity? Why not? Please just forget about what you're saying and
you know what I
on
told.
Why are you not getting that opportunity and develop yourself? Yeah.
And I agree with you. There was a training I had recently, and I was showing my trainees. I have a dedicated email. I'm not looking for job, but I have a dedicated email where I subscribe to jobs for my proteges. So I'm able to forward those jobs to them when they are applying, right? And I opened that email to those guys on the training that day. They were amazed. Those were Canadians. They were like, really? On a daily basis, I get not less than 200 jobs.
Can you imagine?
On a daily basis, yes. So
I hope you all are hearing. So please don't let that little devil to limit you. Develop yourself. Come back to yourself. What are you not doing right? Find that thing that you're not doing right and correct it. There's no way you will not get that opportunity you're looking for, regardless of the field. All right. So for the sake of time, let's move on here. So what is the minimum academic qualification required to become a DevOps engineer?
I always say it's nothing short of secondary school education because I've
Okay.
looked at those jobs a lot of times. What they ask for minimum is high school, secondary school
Mhm.
education. Of course,
Okay.
if you have a college degree or a university degree, that's nice to have. That's great to have. But I don't
Mhm.
think any of those jobs would say you must have masters or PhD. No.
Okay, amazing. I think that's really great news for so many people that are interested, but they are just worried because they don't have some sort of degrees. But at the same time, I usually advise people that even if you're pursuing this route without a degree, make sure you're taking steps to further your education. Education is always very important. I mean, based on my experience, because I'm a big lover of self-investment. Okay, now let's move on to this maybe last question. So, for a beginner, which training and certification is best to start with?
Great. So for certification, I always tell my trainees certification should not be your focus as a starter or a beginner
Okay.
when you're going
Mhm.
into DevOps, right?
Okay.
I always tell them understanding what DevOps really is and what DevOps is not is extremely important to you. So,
Okay.
understanding the concepts, the phases, and beginning to learn at least a tool in each phase is important for your success in this career, right?
Wow.
But does it mean there are no certifications? Of course, there are certifications. But the truth is, you get into different environment and you figure out that they use different tools. So if I have, for instance, I have a certification in AWS, and the job I'm seeing that really, really wants me and I really want to go for is asking me for an Azure certification. So what happens to my AWS certification? There are a bunch of certifications, but I always tell them that shouldn't be your focus as a starter. Learn
Okay.
the because there's no one thing about DevOps is there's no way you want to do DevOps if you don't have a hands-on, right?
Okay.
So that's what organizations want to see, how much of the work you can do.
Okay. So which training would you recommend for someone that is starting? What's the
So
name of that training?
so if you're studying DevOps, I would, like I said, Linux is extremely important.
Okay.
Another tool that I always tell is a must-have is Git. You must learn how to use Git.
Okay.
Because whether you're using Azure DevOps or you're using on-premises, source code repository, for some reasons Git is always a baseline. So you want to
Okay.
learn Git. And of course the DevOps is divided into different phases. So each
Mhm.
of those phases you want to learn at least a tool in those phases.
Okay. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you so very much. I have just one last question for you before we take on our questions from our audience. But before I go to that last question, I just want to remind our viewers that for being Agile Consulting, our September training already started last week. We've already covered like one quarter of the program. You still have a chance to enroll if you want, because the way it is designed, you can catch up based on how our program is designed. But if not, our next training has already been enrollment has been launched and it starts on the 4th of October. Please stop procrastinating. Stop it. That's a trick of the devil. To be honest, stop procrastinating and be actionable. Be actionable. All right. With that in mind, that if you're interested in learning more about agile training, Scrum Master, mentoring, our coaching sessions, or if you already have the training, you're looking to land that job, you've been struggling because that's a really big challenge in this space. Visit our website. It's pinned on the first message on this live. Visit our website www.beingagileconsulting.com. Learn more about the services we offer. Jump on our train and let's help you achieve that goal. All right. So now, my last question for you. For an aspiring and current DevOps engineer, what advice can you give them? Just one advice.
One advice.
Mhm.
Okay, so one advice I tell my trainees is I'm a lady, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I work, and I consult. If I can wear all these caps, what's stopping you? You are stopping yourself. Like Karen said, make that move today.
Mhm.
Make that move to learn Agile. Impossible is you. It's as far as you can see, you would be able to reach.
Wow.
Launch for it, go for it.
Oh, wow. That's so inspiring. Oh, my God. Thank you so very much, Miss Temi. Now, it's been amazing. having you here, and thank you so much for sharing all of your that information, all of the knowledge you shared for nothing, for free. It's just everything. So let's just take some few questions from our audience here. um we have, okay, someone is talking about my blazer. Okay, Doris, thank you very much. Let's hear from um Tandra. Do you need to know how to code to get into DevOps? I think you already answered that question. So just
Yes,
add.
I did. You do not need to know how to code.
All right.
You need scripting knowledge, but you don't even need to know how to script to start. There's a difference between scripting and coding.
Mm-hmm.
You can Google and get that, but you don't
Yeah.
need to know how to code. And you
Okay.
don't need to know how to script to start. I always tell my trainees, start, understand it, then you can pick scripting along the line.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next question. What are typical DevOps solutions do you offer to individuals? What typical DevOps solutions do you offer to individuals?
I want to understand, I'm trying to understand this question, DevOps solutions to individuals or to organizations. Okay.
I guess to
So
individuals. Yeah.
okay, so to individuals, do you mean DevOps tools they need to learn?
I guess again, if Doris, if I am assuming your question correctly, Doris is trying to understand what are some of the trainings that you offer.
Okay. So if it's about the training, so we have a professional DevOps engineer training, and it's an 8 week long training. We offer it during the weekends. That
Mhm.
training covers everything from foundation of Linux to cloud to the tools that we use in DevOps, the major tools that you see out there, like the Git that I mentioned, Jenkins, Ansible, the three major cloud providers we train in our training. So if I'm going to be recommending a DevOps training to you, of course, DevOps training from TechPort is a very great landing spot for you to start.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Wahab is saying it's really similar to a Scrum role. Yeah, it is. The only difference I think is that it's more technical than being a
It's
Scrum Master.
technical. It's very technical. And I always
Yeah.
tell my trainees, prepare your mind. It's a
Mm-hmm.
drill when you come
Yeah.
for that training. It's a drill. It's very
Okay.
technical.
I like how honest and authentic you are.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Doris is still asking, what are the unique automation tools employed in DevOps, and how do organizations select tools that are best fit for their operations or teams?
Great question. I think she has rephrased that question. Great. Thank you, Doris. Now, like I mentioned, automation, okay, DevOps means different things to different organizations, and the way organizations approach DevOps differs. So let's take, for example, an organization that has a lot of development work where there are coders and they have challenges with the way the application behave when they deploy them. It's possible a developer develops an application, it works very fine on his desk. You, as a consumer, you load the same application and it doesn't work fine. So, a lot of organizations now are approaching for that organization, they'll be looking at containerization. And that's where we talk about Docker, we talk about Kubernetes. So, that's for that. So, it just depends on what the challenge the organization is trying to solve is, right? That's what will determine what kind of solution that they would employ. But generally speaking, the kind of automation tools that you see Jenkins. Jenkins is a continuous integration tool. You see organizations going into AWS cloud. AWS has a complete DevOps solution. So from the coding to managing the codes to compiling the codes to continuous integration, AWS has a complete suite. Same as Microsoft Azure, they have a complete suite, right? Other tools is infrastructure as a code. Organizations want to automate, the everyday tasks that they do. For instance, you have an organization that deploys solution into several servers, right, or several environments. They want to employ infrastructure as a code tool. Some of those tools are Ansible, Terraform. Those are the tools you use for that. What
Mhm.
infrastructure as a code does for you is I want to automate. I have my server. I want to push to current system, push to Doris system, and I want to do that at the click of a button. Then I'll use something like Ansible to do that. The code is sitting on my desk. With Ansible, I can run a playbook that will update Doris's system, update current system. And take, for example, A very easy way to understand that is on your phone, you just see iPhone updates, right? They push those updates to our systems, to our phones, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of, just imagine that in that light. So organizations are doing a lot more with automating their environment with infrastructure as code. Terraform is a great tool. Ansible is a great tool. So there are so many tools out there, but those are the common tools that you see.
Awesome. I mean, for our Scrum Masters that work in the DevOps environment and work with DevOps teams, I hope you're getting value from this, especially those from Being Agile community of practice. Because lately I've been seeing so many comments coming from there asking questions around the slide. I hope this session will deliver some value to you. All right, Emmeline, I am also tempted, coach. She's tempted to switch. Now, I know Emmeline, by the way, she used to be one of my previous students. Now she has heard all these goodies around DevOps and the money, I guess. Now she's tempted to switch. Emmeline, please. We still need you in this this Scrum Master space.
You're welcome to switch, Emily.
Don't try it. All right. Let's take this question from Alio. We are right on time. Miss Temi, I just want to check if you have approximately 4 more minutes to spare. Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me.
All right, thank you. So do you need any certification to be a DevOps? I'm talking boot camp. Yeah. I'm taking a boot camp in DevOps.
Do you need? No. But are there certifications? Yes, there are several certifications. Docker has a certification, Docker Certified Administrator, Kubernetes has a certification, Certified Kubernetes Administrator, Certified Kubernetes Admin. So there are several certifications out there. Several. Ansible has a certification. There are bunch of certifications out there. But do you need any certification? You don't need them at the start.
As long as you're able to do the job, that's what matters. Yes. All right. Awesome. Thank you very much. I think this question has already been answered in the course of our conversation. What is a typical day like for a DevOps engineer?
You want to ensure your pipeline is working. Yep.
Yeah, we already covered that. And Wahab said, very true. I like the way this lady come across. Okay, I'm feeling her energy. I am feeling her energy too. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Wahab.
All right, let's see if we have other questions here. Doris is saying, thank you so much for providing great insight on DevOps career. Thank you too, Doris, for watching. And Miss Temi, I cannot thank you enough. This has been very powerful. The truth is some people don't want to sacrifice. Some of them don't have the hunger to succeed. I cannot agree more, Wahab. I mean, that's very true. They just want to think magic. Manners who fall from heaven. There's no manners in heaven anymore. There's no boulangerie in heaven. That's what I say. No bread falls from heaven these days. It's physical bread. It doesn't happen. All right. Do I need to learn programming languages? This is from Abisola.
It's the same thing about, do I need to learn how to code? No, you don't need programming languages for DevOps.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. All right. Okay. Someone said Veronica, I was on the tech pot side. I didn't see the costs of the training. So what do you have to say about that?
It's on there. It's on
there.
Okay,
I think so I saw that training. I saw the cost though.
It's on there. It's $3,000.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then we have this from Sam. Oh, I think Sam is helping out the Veronica with the question. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Sam, for stepping in. How much? So this question again for Veronica, how much does DevOps training cost? I think it has been answered. Okay, so do you teach AWS?
Yeah, so as part of the training, AWS is the first cloud tool that we treat, right? That's because the way the training is structured is, like I mentioned, we use the 3 hyperscalers. When I say hyperscalers, I mean the main public cloud providers, which is AWS, Azure, and Google. So the way the training is structured, AWS is taught inside out so that you're able to spin up from the second lecture, you're able to spin up your account in AWS and spin up your servers in AWS, because you do a lot of labs with AWS. And then another segment of the training focuses on Azure. We're covering cloud DevOps. And Google is used when we're covering containers, Kubernetes. So yes, we teach AWS.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, for those that already know me, because most people know me in this space from an Agile standpoint, take it from me. if you are a DevOps person or you're looking to get any training around DevOps and you're not connecting with Miss Temi, you're making a mistake. I'm telling you, you're making a mistake. You can trust me on that. You already trust me in the Agile space. So if I can say that, then believe me, she is one of the best trainers in the space when it comes to anything DevOps. So invest your money where your mouth is. All right, awesome. So someone said they cannot find you on LinkedIn. Tell me, Sam. I just texted your name again, but I'm not sure if that is the right thing.
Okay,
So
I'll check that.
all right, please check that and make sure that you can. So to leave information, you can come back to this live after it's done and just drop it on the comment section so that people can get to you. All right, I think that's it. That's it. And Miss Temi, thank you so much. I'm very sure that, I mean, we can see from the comment section, our viewers, they think it was very, very insightful and they got a lot of value from this session. I'm very sure they'll be reaching out to you for our DevOps people, for our Agile people, so that you can better do DevOps. Contact me, be an Agile consultant, and we will be more than glad to serve you and help you achieve your goal. Miss Temi, thank you so much for coming today, and it's been a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thanks, everyone, for having me today.
Awesome. You all have a blessed rest of your Sunday, and bye.